6 months into her new job, Chi-Chi went online and visited the Travel Abroad Facebook group. She came across a post written by a woman who discovered that her husband, living abroad, had secretly married someone else. Curious, she clicked, read the story, then dove into the comments. Many women shared similar experiences. Her heart sank with every post. It all felt too familiar. From the moment her husband and Mika started acting cold and dismissive about relocating her and their son to the US, something inside her had whispered that another woman might be in the picture. She had no proof, just a gut feeling. But now, reading the stories, everything made sense. She grabbed a notebook and carefully wrote down the steps other women had taken to uncover the truth about their husbands abroad. A few weeks later, fate stepped in. She reconnected with her childhood friend Jane on Facebook. They hadn't spoken in years. During their chat, she shared what she'd been going through with Jane, how Amika had abandoned her emotionally and physically. Jane, now a nurse living in Maryland with her own family, was shocked and deeply moved. She offered to help. "If you can give me some details," she said, "I'll find out what I can." Chi-Chi didn't hesitate. She sent Jane everything: Emeka's photo, his US address, and even a snapshot of the personal data page of his American passport. She had secretly taken it one day while snooping through his bag. Jane kept her word. Driven by a strong dislike for men who lived double lives abroad while leaving their families behind in Nigeria, Jane took matters seriously. She even hired a private investigator, and what they found left no doubt. Emeka had legally married another woman in the US, just 2 years after marrying Chi-Chi in Nigeria. Jane didn't stop there. She tracked down the new wife's Facebook page and sent Chi-Chi pictures of their civil wedding and vacation photos. But before she did, she made Chi-Chi swear to never mention her involvement. Jane wanted no part of any public drama. Chi-Chi was overwhelmed. She thanked Jane repeatedly for going to such lengths without asking for anything in return. But deep down, she felt numb. Strangely, it wasn't heartbreak, it was closure. That's when she knew. She was done with Emeka and her marriage to him. But she couldn't just walk away, not without teaching him a lesson. Inspired by the original post she had read, she gathered all the evidence: her marriage certificate, wedding photos, her son's birth certificate. Then she sat down and wrote a detailed email to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services (USCIS). In it, she explained how Emeka Eze, her legally wedded husband in Nigeria, married another woman in the United States, where bigamy is a criminal offense. She attached all the documents, clicked send, then leaned back in her chair and took a deep breath. It was the beginning of a new chapter. The next morning, she packed a bag for herself and her son and traveled home to see her parents. After dinner, she sat them down and told them everything. She explained her decision to leave the marriage and why. She had expected resistance, which was why she made sure she was financially stable first. But to her surprise, her parents didn't try to stop her. Instead, they looked at her with sad eyes and admitted they had been hurting too. They had long regretted giving her hand in marriage to a man who turned her into a married woman living like a single mother. They were disappointed, not just in Emeka, but in the entire Eze family for failing to protect and value their daughter. Chi-Chi felt a wave of relief wash over her. She wasn't alone anymore. She had her parents, her son, and a new beginning. And for the first time in a long time, she felt free. The very next morning, her father called his in-law, Chief Judiazi, and invited him to come and take back the bride price they paid for his daughter because they were no longer interested in the marriage. The news sent Emeka's parents into panic. His father called back pleading while his mother wailed. She blamed him for losing the good wife God gave him, despite her warnings as a concerned mother. "What I was afraid of has finally happened to me," she cried. The next day, they visited Chi-Chi's family to plead. "My in-law, it hasn't gotten to this. We can still resolve it. Emeka will take his wife before the month ends. I will see to it myself," Chief Ozo said. But Mr. Naji stood firm on his decision. Chi-Chi spoke directly to her parents-in-law, saying, "Mommy, Daddy, thank you for loving me from day one. I love you too, and you'll always be my parents. But I can't remain married to Emeka. I'm tired of being treated like I don't matter. I'm tired of the loneliness. I'm tired of being vulnerable without my husband's covering. I'm tired of living like a single mother while married. My husband had every opportunity to bring us over, but chose not to. That shows our goals are different. The Bible says two can't walk together except they agree. I've lost myself. My mental health is in shambles. I couldn't even cheat on him because it's against my faith. So I've chosen to do the honorable thing, which is to divorce him and move on. Please forgive me. Chief and his wife returned home heartbroken. His mother was so hurt that she cried all through their journey home, chanting, "My enemies will laugh at me." Immediately they got home. They called their son and informed him of their visit. The news hit Emeka like a hammer. Divorce. He was confused, shocked, and full of regret. Chichi had always been traditional about marriage. He never imagined she would walk away, not like this. Memories rushed back. He remembered how sweet and calm she was, how he had chased her for months, convinced she was the one. She had been everything he wanted in a wife. Now she was done with him. Panicked, he called her over and over. He begged her to give him one more chance, promising to fix every mistake he had made. But it was too late. Chichi had already made up her mind. She blocked his number. Then she blocked him on all social media. Before doing that, she sent him a long message. Clear instructions on how to pay child support. No emotion, just facts. When he realized she wasn't responding, he opened new social media accounts, got new numbers, anything to reach her. She blocked them all. That's when it truly hit him. She was gone. Their marriage was over. Emeka sat down quietly, his heart heavy with sorrow. Regret poured over him like a flood. If only he could rewind time. He had started out with good intentions. He had planned to bring his wife and son over to live with him. Everything was going well until that one evening. It had started with a few drinks after work. He had met up with his Nigerian friends to celebrate the success of his wedding. They laughed, joked, and then the insults came. Simp, they called him. Once he mentioned he planned to bring Chichi to the US Nosa, his closest friend in the group spoke the loudest. He bragged about leaving his wife and 3 kids back in Benin for over 10 years. He still sent them money and they lived comfortably. According to Nosa, bringing your Nigerian wife abroad was a recipe for disaster. They change, Nosa warned. Once they get here, they'll demand too much. Expect you to cook, clean, babysit. One mistake like cheating, and they'll destroy you. Emeka had laughed it off at first, but the more they talked, the more the doubt grew. Eventually, he gave in. He stopped talking about bringing Chichi over. He pushed her and their son aside. And then, during a wild night at a Vegas club, drunk and careless, he did the unthinkable. He married his neighbor, a woman he had only been casually seeing. That one mistake changed everything. Now sitting alone, he wished he had never listened to his friends, wished he had followed his heart, wished he could go back and fix it all. But it was too late. Chichi was gone, and so was the life he could have had. A month into Chichi's stay with her parents, Mary invited her to her home in Lagos to have some rest, which she honored. As a remote worker, she could comfortably work from anywhere with a stable internet. Lagos inclusive, while her parents took care of her son William. After celebrating her arrival, Mary convinced her to see a therapist, and the therapy sessions helped her heal. Her smile returned, and for the first time in years, she started dreaming again. She had planned to spend 1 month in Lagos, but ended up spending 4 months due to the peace and relaxation her best friend made available for her. On the day of her departure, she boarded a plane and was seated by the window. Moments later, a handsome young man sat beside her. She said a soft, "Hello," plugged in her headphones and closed her eyes. A gentle tap on her shoulder made her reopen them. "Chichi, right?" the man asked. "Yes," she replied, trying to remember his face. "I'm Desmond. We met 5 years ago at the Owerri airport. I gave you my number, but you never called." "Oh, the special advisor and medical doctor?" she asked. "Exactly," he replied, smiling. They talked throughout the flight. Laughter and soft smiles slowly filled the silence that had been carved by years of pain. Sitting beside Desmond felt easy for Chichi, like a gentle breeze brushing over wounds she once believed would never heal. When the plane landed, Desmond took her phone with boyish confidence, dialed his number, and saved hers with a playful grin. That small, bold act stayed with her. It lingered in her heart long after they went their separate ways at the airport. From that moment on, Desmond became a constant. He was persistent but never pushy. He called. He texted. He checked in after her long, exhausting days. He never crossed any boundaries. Even when she responded coldly in a bid to brush him off, he didn't give up. After a while, she agreed to meet him for lunch in a cozy restaurant at Owerri. She looked into his kind eyes while eating dessert and told him about her failed marriage, years of betrayal, her son, and her healing journey. She actually told him all that because she guessed that would be the easiest way for him to lose interest in her, as she wasn't interested in dating any man. Once bitten, twice shy, they say. But Desmond didn't flinch. His face softened. "Thank you," he said gently, "for trusting me." He further went on to say, "Let's just be friends. No pressure, no expectations." And he meant it. In the months that followed, Desmond showed her what real friendship looked like: honesty, patience, and care. He sent her the book she once mentioned. He remembered her son's name. He brought soup when she caught a cold. He always answered her calls, even when she had nothing to say. Slowly, almost unknowingly, Chi-Chi's walls began to crumble. She smiled more. She laughed again, deep, belly laughs that felt like freedom. She started checking her phone for his messages. She reread them on long, lonely nights. 8 months after their first lunch, she looked into his eyes on a rainy evening and whispered, "Yes. Yes to dating, yes to feeling again." 1 year and 2 months later, she said yes to being his wife. The wedding was magical: soft lights, dancing, and joyful tears. Desmond looked like a man who had waited all his life for this one moment. He didn't just marry a woman, he married a soul he had loved before she even knew how to love again. He gained a brilliant son who admired him, in-laws who embraced him, and a home that now echoed with laughter. His parents had passed on, but her family welcomed and took him as their own. After the reception, they escaped to the beautiful beaches of Seychelles. The honeymoon was slow and tender, filled with quiet mornings, long walks, and whispered promises under the stars. Desmond held her like she was the only thing that mattered, because to him, she was. When they returned, they relocated to Toronto, Canada. It was a move Desmond had quietly planned since their court wedding. He wanted to give her a fresh start, a home where their love could grow without the weight of past shadows. Now she understood what real love meant. Not just words, but actions, in being present, in the quiet strength of a man who saw her scars and chose to stay. She finally knew what it meant to be married, not abandoned or tolerated, but deeply treasured. God had shown her mercy. He had given her the kind of love she never thought she'd find: a husband, a partner, a soulmate. Life with Desmond was different from anything she had known before. It was calm, kind, and steady, like a soft lantern glowing in the dark. He never raised his voice. He never withdrew. He just showed up, every day. Mornings began with Desmond making breakfast, eggs just the way she liked, tea with too much honey, and soft music in the background. Sometimes he twirled her in the kitchen while the toast burned, and they'd laugh like teenagers in love. Chi-Chi got a job in cloud computing at a fast-rising software company and worked from home 3 days a week. Their son William blossomed under Desmond's steady love. One random evening, while they were fixing a Lego set together, he looked up and called Desmond Dad. Desmond's eyes filled with tears. Chi-Chi, watching from the doorway, knew without a doubt she had made the right choice. Not just for herself, but for her child. They celebrated everything: passing exams, new jobs, learning to drive in the snow. And when hard times came, like homesickness or bills, they leaned into each other. Desmond often left her little notes, tucked in books, inside her purse, on the bathroom mirror. Notes like, "I'm proud of you. You're more than enough, and I love being your husband. Loving you changed my life." Their love was all actions. It was forehead kisses at bedtime, in saving the last spoonful of stew for him, in glances across the room, on lazy Sundays, in how they held hands and communicated with their eyes when no one was watching. They grew together, stronger, and more in love every day. Chi-Chi couldn't help but marvel at her life. The girl who once felt too broken to be loved had become a deeply cherished and loved wife and mother. God hadn't just healed her. He had done beyond what she asked for. And she's forever thankful to him for the gift of Desmond in her life and that of her son. William waited for Desmond whenever he came home late. He copied how Desmond tied his shoelaces and combed his hair. They played together, went for Saturday picnic trips, and also played pranks on her using boys' code. Desmond taught William how to be a gentleman, tend the garden, carry out home chores, how to ride a bike, etc., while Desmond learned how wonderful fatherhood could be from taking care of him. Chi-Chi often shed tears of joy watching them. Her son was finally loved, chosen, seen, and heard. It was at the peak of her joy that Jane informed her that Amika, her ex-husband, was going through trials and could be jailed for bigamy, just as she expected. One sunny Saturday, she noticed how tired she had become, how easily she slept off during odd hours of the day, and suspected pregnancy. Hence, she took a test which confirmed her suspicion. That evening, she presented the test strip in a parcel as a surprise to her husband. He looked at it, then at her. "Sweetheart, is this—" She nodded. He lifted her off the ground, laughing and spinning. "We're pregnant?" "Yes," she laughed. "We are." He kissed her deeply. "I love you, baby." Then they proceeded to share the good news with their son. William stared at them, time in confusion, unsure whether to smile or frown. "You're having a baby?" he asked. Desmond nodded, crouching to his level. "Yes, son. You're going to be a big brother soon." William's eyes widened. "Will you still love me?" he asked softly. Chi-Chi pulled him close. "Always, baby." Desmond joined the hug. "You're not being replaced. Our love is just growing." After that, William got excited. He talked to her belly, picked toys, and helped fold tiny clothes. When Chi-Chi was put on bed rest, he brought her snacks and read books to her belly. "So they'll know my voice," he said. At the ultrasound, the doctor confirmed 2 heartbeats. Twins. "Twins?" Desmond exclaimed. "Now that's double blessings. Thank you, Jesus." The pregnancy was high risk, being a twin pregnancy. Chi-Chi battled pain, fatigue, and mood swings. But Desmond was her rock. He cooked, massaged her feet, and read parenting books. Every appointment, he was there. He even learned to braid her hair. In the 7th month of the pregnancy journey, the gynecologist placed her on a bed rest for her. Her ever-present husband adjusted his hospital shifts to be there for his wife most of the time. On the night labor started, she woke in pain. Her husband moved fast, bag ready, calm voice, and helping hands. "I've got you," he said while they raced to the hospital. At the hospital, pain blurred time. Chi-Chi screamed and cried, but her husband never left her side. "You're doing great," he whispered. The labor lasted 2 hours of excruciating pain and holding on to her husband for support. Immediately, her cervix was 10 centimeters dilated. Their baby girl came forth, crying loudly. "She's perfect," Desmond said. "Just like her mama." Then a baby boy, calm, blinking with eyes wide open. "Hey, little man," Desmond whispered. "This is Daddy." Chi-Chi looked at them, one in her arms, one in his. Her heart overflowed. They named them Angel and Jaden. The next morning, Desmond picked up William. He had stayed with a family friend the previous night. "Dad, I couldn't sleep," he said. "I was worried about Mom, and I kept checking the clock all night." "Your mom and your siblings are fine, son," Desmond answered with an affectionate smile. "Let's go meet them." At the hospital, William entered the room and gently hugged his mom, who glowed with joy while the twins laid on their cradle. "Come meet your brother and sister," she said to her eldest son. William stared in wonder, noting how small they are. Desmond handed Angel to him. She yawned and settled into his arms. "Hi," William whispered. "I'm your big brother, and I'll take good care of you." Desmond placed a hand on his shoulder. "They're lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have them, too," he grinned. From that moment, he took his big brother role seriously. He sang lullabies for them when they were cranky and sleepy, and never failed to push their stroller on walks. He named himself their official tickle master, making them giggle with silly faces. Whenever someone visited, he'd proudly announce, "These are my wonderful siblings." And as the months passed, the bond between them grew soft and unbreakable. They followed him around like ducklings, wide-eyed and curious. And William, patient and protective, became not just their big brother, but their hero. Chi-Chi often watched all 3 of them from the kitchen, her heart full of joy and peace. She had once prayed for healing and had gotten more than she ever imagined. God had given her a family stitched together by love, peace, laughter, and second chances. Indeed, she is the woman that God has shown great mercy.